friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 4 of the double neck guitar build. Okay, so at the end of the last video I was drilling the pilot holes for the tuners. I've since gone ahead and drilled them out fully and test fitted all the tuners, and they're all absolutely fine, so that's all good. And off camera I did a little bit of work to the body. I basically cut and fitted 2 blocks which are going to act as the neck blocks. So those are fitted in the top there, and I will be routing out the neck pockets here and here. I'm waiting on some router bits. I don't have the right ones for this job at the moment, so I've ordered some. They'll be coming shortly. So that will be the next part of the job for the body. But for now, I can turn my attention to the necks, in particular the fretboards. So I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference. So this one I've done already. This one is yet to be done. I don't know if you can see the difference there. I think you can. I've straightened both of the necks with the truss rod adjustment, made sure they're perfectly straight, and I've checked both fretboards with my fret rocker to check for any uneven frets, and on one of them, actually the bass one, I found one high fret only. And when I looked closely, I could see that it wasn't seated properly. So all I did was use my fret hammer, lightly tapped it down into place, checked it again, perfect. And then I checked the 6-string neck. There were about 4 high frets on that one. Exactly the same thing, they just weren't seated properly, so I gave them a tap with my fret hammer. Had to do it a few times on that one to get them seated properly, and now that one's perfect too. So the really good thing is these 2 necks don't need a fret job, which is really good. I mean, more often than not they will, but in this case, I mean, these necks are pretty cheap, I've got to be honest. They're about £25 each, it's about $30, so pretty cheap really. But I've got to say, for that price, they're pretty good quality. I mean, they're not, you know, high-end quality, but for that kind of price, they are good. You know, they're nicely finished. The edge of the fretboard against the edge of the neck is perfect. You know, the frets themselves are pretty level. The only thing I found with both of these is the fret ends are a little bit sharp. So that's the job I'm doing at the moment, just rounding off the ends of the frets, just to take the sharpness off them. So that's all they need. They don't need a fret leveling job. They just need the fret ends dressing, which is really common, particularly on cheaper ones. So there's 2 fretboards. 22 frets per fretboard, 2 ends per fret, and 2 corners per end. So I've had to file 176 corners. So as you can imagine, I've not filmed it. I've done like 98% of it, and I've got just the ends of 3 more left to do, so that I can show you how I'm doing it. I'm sure you didn't want to watch me file 176 fret end corners. You know, I'm going to show you 3 of them, and you'll get the idea. You don't need to see me doing 176 of them. So, right, let me just put that one aside, because that one is finished, that one's done. So for the bass one, as I said, I've got 3 fret ends left to do. So let me just put the camera in a better position, zoom in a bit, and we'll see what we're doing here. Okay, the remote, I might have to tilt the camera down a bit. Yeah, I will do. Okay, let me just tilt that first, because I've found that zooming in too much with this camera, it doesn't autofocus once it's zoomed in too much. So let me just try that, zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's good. So I'll just come out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I've got my lamp set up here, just to give me a bit of extra light. Okay, so with my file, which is a nice small file, and on one edge there's no file, but there is on the other edge. So I use that smooth edge against the fretboard so I don't do any damage to it. And I'm not sure how well you're going to see what I'm doing here, but just give it a bit more light. So all I'm doing is coming to the end of the fret and just filing the end or the corner of it around from both sides, just to take off that sharp edge on the corners. Doesn't need a lot, really. I mean, these frets are really good, to be honest, on such a cheap, neck. I'm surprised at, how good the quality is of the whole thing, really. But I'm not complaining. So yeah, you can see, really doesn't take very much at all. Very little to it. Just taking off the sharp edge. Actually, I missed that one, that side. It's a bit awkward doing it this way around, but there's only a little bit to take off. Just literally the very edge. Do a little bit more on those. So I'm coming alongside the fret to the end and then filing at a slight angle and curving around to give it a kind of a rounded edge. That's what you want to try and achieve. So there's no sharpness there. Still missed a bit on that one. Let me just turn that around. That's better. Okay, so that's it done. It took a little bit longer to do the whole lot. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, so how was that focus? It's not too bad. So once all of the corners are filed off, I then take a piece of 600 grit wet and dry sandpaper and just go over the edge all the way along the fretboard, just to smooth it over that little bit more. Now this is only 600 grit, so it's not going to do any damage to the fretboard whatsoever, but it will just ever so slightly round the edge of the fretboard over, which is actually what you want. So all I do is just go over the ends of the fret at more or less a 45-degree angle, so that I'm not, scraping the side of the neck and also not scraping the top of the fret. I'm just going at a 45-degree angle all the way along the corners and the edge of the fretboard, and this gives it a final smooth. So it needs a little bit more. I can go a little bit over the top of the frets as well, just to take off a little bit more of the sharpness. With this 600 grit sandpaper, it's enough to, just take off the sharp edges without, leaving big gouges and scratches everywhere. That's feeling pretty good. Again, it doesn't really need a lot. These fretboards are pretty good already. Just need a little bit of tidying up on those fret ends. That's all it needs. Now this edge, this edge is the most important edge because you know, these are right-handed necks, so your left hand will be, you know, on the fretboard and your fingers will be down this edge. So that's the most important edge to get nice and smooth, because that's where you're going to feel it on your fingers if there's any sharp edges left. You really don't want that. Okay. So again, you know, it doesn't take a lot. It's already feeling pretty good. There's a couple of little bits and pieces here and there that's still sharp. Nothing major. How's that? Oh, that's good. A little bit down this end, which is used less often on most guitars, and particularly bass, but excuse me, it might as well all be done properly. That's nice. Yeah, both edges. I'll just do this side a little bit more. That's good. Okay, now the one fret on this that was high, I've tapped it down, but where are we? It left a couple of minor scratches on the top of the fret, so I've marked it with a Sharpie so I would know which one it is. And I'm going to use one of my fretboard guards, put over the fret and just go over that fret with the 600, just to take out those few tiny scratches, which you can barely see, but you usually can feel them more than you actually see them. So that's taking those out nicely. That's good. Okay, so the next job is to polish all of the frets. So just wipe the dust off of there first. So I polished all the frets on the other fretboard, and using, where is it? This Autosol metal polish. You can use it for all sorts of metal, and it's perfect for guitar frets. And you can see where I did the other fretboard. Just bring that back. All the marks on there is where I actually polished the frets, and you can see all the black on there. It's the tarnish from the frets themselves. So again, I used my fretboard guard, put over each fret, and just a tiny dab of this Autosol polish on the cloth. And with the guard in place, you really can't see what I'm doing, can you? Yeah. Try and do this in a way that you can see what I'm doing. Not easy. Okay, so just polish over the fret. I mean, you put this guard over the fret so that you don't get this polish all over the fretboard, because it can be a bit tricky to clean it off. So I'll do 3 at a time. Not 3 at a time, but 3 one after another, and then take the polish off. You don't want to leave it on too long. Those of you in the car cleaning industry will know. Leave polish on anything for too long and it just becomes a nightmare to remove it. Okay, so that's 3 of them. Let's buff those off now. Now, I don't think you'll be able to see the difference, but you might be able to. So the first 3 are polished, and the rest I haven't yet. Don't know if you can see that at all or not. So that's 3 done. So I'll just continue and do the rest. So I'll do them 3 at a time, saves a little bit of time. And this really does make all the difference to a fretboard. I mean, it looks, you know, 100 times better, and it feels better when you're playing You know, your fingers just basically glide over the fret rather than feeling stickiness and all sorts of horribleness, if that's a word. Way too much there. Yeah, you know, it looks better and it feels better, so it needs to be done. I mean, even brand new fretboards are going to have tarnished frets. It just happens, you know, metal tarnishes over time. It doesn't even need to come into contact with anything that will, you know, make it dull. Metal just tarnishes. But these frets are really easy to clean up with this metal polish, and it just makes a whole lot of difference. Makes all the difference, really. You only need a really tiny amount. That's 3 times as much as I need right there. How are we looking? Good. Yep, looking fine. I'll just buff those a little bit more actually. So I did say at the beginning of this project that it's probably going to take quite a long time, but it does seem to be, you know, going a bit quicker than I was anticipating, and that is partly down to what I said about being able to come into the workshop every day, you know, as opposed to just once a week, and get things done. And it does just make things move along so much faster. As I said, I'm waiting for those router bits to route out the neck pockets. Don't really think there's much else I can do at the moment until, you know, I've got those and can do that, because I need to put the necks in place, albeit temporarily, so that I can line up where the bridges are going to go. You can't really do it accurately without the necks set in place. So one thing I will need to do in preparation for that stage is to make a router template or guide, if you like, because you certainly wouldn't want to do it freehand. Really simple to, really easy to, you know, go wrong and completely mess up the body, you know, because if the neck pocket is too big, you've got a problem, you know, because it's not gonna sit straight. It could well move about. So, you know, you don't want that. You want the neck pocket to be as tight as humanly possible and still be able to, you know, get the neck in and out. It needs to be tight, and it needs to be fraction of a millimetre perfect on accuracy for side to side, up and down. It's not quite as crucial in this build, to be honest, you know, because I'm making it out of a wooden box rather than you know, a standard guitar body, so I can get away with a little bit of inaccuracy, but I do want it to be as accurate as possible. Okay, so that's all the frets polished, and the last job now is to oil the fretboard, which you know, I know that you've seen me do about 40,000 times, but for me this is perhaps the most satisfying part of the job, because it's kind of like the final part of you know, doing anything to your fretboard. This is the final part, and again it makes a difference to how it looks, you know. And obviously, you know, it does all the important stuff, protecting the wood, and, you know, just making everything nice and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. So you can probably see the difference where I've put it on and where I haven't. Anyway, the word I'm looking for is to do it, you know, wood having the right amount of oils and moisture. Not too much moisture as such, but they do certainly need to be replenished with oils. Far too few people actually do oil their fretboards on a regular basis. Not regular as such, but if you play a lot, particularly, you know, on stage and you get sweaty and stuff like that, then really you need to do this. You do need to do this quite regularly to protect the wood. Okay, so that's that part done now. So that fretboard is finished. Just check those edges. Oh, lovely, lovely. Okay, so that's the 2 fretboards prepared. As I said, I've still got to do final shaping and sanding on the headstocks and possibly the necks as well, but I'm not going to do that part just yet. That's going to be much later on. So that's the end of part 4 of the double neck guitar build. And as I said, let me just tilt that camera back. The next part is going to be routing the neck pockets to insert the necks into the body. Yeah. But like I said, in the meantime, I'm going to make up a template, a guide, if you will, to do that job before those router bits arrive. And then you know, as soon as they do, I'm ready to get on with the job. So I'm probably not going to film making that template. It's not particularly exciting. All I'm going to do is put this part of the neck onto a piece of wood, draw around it, cut it out, and make sure it fits that nice and snug. And that's going to be my template. So it's not particularly exciting. So looking forward to the next stage, but a little bit apprehensive because it's a bit of a scary stage, but it's all going to be fun. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.